There are two more prophets that we need to consult before we get out of prophetic literature, and those are the two prophets that prophesied during the exile, and these are Jeremiah and Ezekiel. They're very exciting. You'll notice right here in our little graph that they cover this period of time that Isaiah and the book of the 12 just skip. And so we've got these two prophets, and they are going to be working with us during the time of the exile, a really important time, and a really important time for the people of God to hear from God. So I'm going to switch over here to the whiteboard and see how well I do on this. All right, so our very first one is Jeremiah. And I want you to remember that Jeremiah is known as the weeping prophet. And you can imagine why he's weeping. Jeremiah is the prophet that is prophesying in Jerusalem as we lead up to the time of the exile. Jeremiah is going to say to the people, listen, Yahweh is not pleased with you. Yahweh is not pleased with what you've done, and what you need to do, even you kings, this is a very different message from Isaiah. You need to submit to Babylon. He's going to say Babylon's coming, and you need to simply submit to their authority and go into exile. Then Jeremiah is going to witness the destruction of Jerusalem and the temple. That's a big deal. That's why he's the weeping prophet, because he sees all of this take place. And so Jeremiah is kind of at the front end of the exile, saying to the people, you need to get your act together. You need to do better than this. And you know what? Yahweh's not pleased with you. And so you need to finally just submit to Babylon and allow them to take over. This is going to be a really difficult thing for Jeremiah to say, because he knows the covenants. He knows that they're where they're supposed to be when they're in Canaan. And when Yahweh lives in Jerusalem, in the temple, that is the way things are supposed to be according to the covenant. But he's going to say, you know what? You've broken that covenant with Moses too many times, and it's over. This is all that there is left. Then we've got another prophet, the prophet Ezekiel, who is also prophesying during the same time period. But Ezekiel, unlike Jeremiah is in Jerusalem when Jerusalem falls to Babylon. Ezekiel is one of those rich guys that left early on. And so Ezekiel is in Babylon when Jerusalem falls. And Ezekiel in Babylon is going to say, Jerusalem is going to fall. And people are like, no, that's where Yahweh lives. Jerusalem will never fall. But then it does. And after it falls, this is a terrifying and horrifying time for the people of God, because that place where Yahweh lived among them has been demolished. And importantly, what is going to happen to Ezekiel is that Ezekiel is going to have a vision of Yahweh in Babylon. This is crazy. This is wild. This is wonderful, because that means that Yahweh doesn't just live in the temple in Jerusalem, but that Yahweh can be present with Yahweh's people anywhere. This is an incredible encouragement. Then the final thing, the final vision that Ezekiel is going to have is of an ideal Jerusalem. That one day Jerusalem will be rebuilt, and that it will be ideal, that it will be perfect, and that the temple will be ideal as well. And so this is the hope that Ezekiel provides in the midst of the exile. This idea that Yahweh is present with us here, and one day we'll be able to return, and we'll be able to revisit the temple and make it what it was always supposed to be. So those are your two prophets that are prophesying during the exile. Jeremiah, who says, submit to Babylon, you fouled up too much. And Ezekiel that says, even though Babylon has come in and destroyed everything, Yahweh is still with us, and we will return to Jerusalem, and we will rebuild the city.